my name is Margie and I'm an Australian currently living in America. And today's video is a two-part video. My husband is going to ask me questions about American versus Australian men. And if you're new to the channel as well, don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. And while you're there, a big thumbs up and I will send a virtual hug towards you for doing it. I really appreciate it, and so does the YouTube algorithm. Obviously though, disclaimer, this is just based on the American guys I've dated and the ones that I know, but obviously not all American or all Australian guys are the exact same. This is just based on my experiences with my opinion, and it's just for a little bit of fun with some beers.
I make no such disclaimer.
Hey, cheers. First question.
Who do you think is more romantic?
I guess based off my experience, I would say American guys are more romantic. But I think that's because over here, like Valentine's Day is like a much bigger thing. So that's like the first thing that popped up in my head. But maybe I just think you're more romantic.
Who do you think is more materialistic?
Ooh, Americans. American guys, definitely.
Yeah, it was definitely my guess.
Australian guys are a lot more like laid back. We'd care. I'm not an Australian guy, I'm a girl. I'd say Australian guys care more about chill time and beers. Yeah, like adventure or things like that. Like not so much things, from my experience.
Who do you think is not as hung up sexually? What does that even mean?
Doesn't care about sex as much or isn't as like worried about performance and things like that.
Oh, okay.
Less hung up sexually, I would say Australians. Australian guys are less hung up sexually. They definitely, in my experience, like in terms of like listening to them talk versus listening to like American guys talk, I feel like there's a lot more pressure on American guys for like performance and girls and things like that, but I don't think, from my experience with like my guy friends, that it was ever like that.
I might be skipping a question or two, but I gotta know, because I want them to know. You guys should know. So, caveat to this question, right? So when you say hung up more sexually, who do you think is more caught up with like past partners sexually and all of that?
You mean like who stays in contact more?
No, like who cares more about how many partners you've been with and things like that?
Oh, how many partners I've been with? Americans. Yeah, I would say on average, out of the Australian guys I've dated versus American guys I've dated, American guys have asked me more often, how many people have you been with? Or like, how many like big relationships have you had? But I think again, in general, that's Americans, maybe both male and female, care a lot more about your previous relationships. You talk more about it. Whereas like Australians, for both guys and girls, you're in a new relationship. Like you don't really talk about your previous relationships with that new person. I remember in Japan, one of my friends who's Turkish, she was dating an Australian guy and she was just like, why wouldn't he talk about his exes? And I was like, why would we want to talk about our exes? Why do you want him to talk about your exes? For us, it's very much like that's in the past. Like it's gone, it's done. It's not something you bring up with a new partner.
Who do you think uses more colorful language?
Australians.
Yeah.
Australian guys definitely use much more colorful language.
Like swear words?
Yeah, not just swear words, but I think also like, actually, yeah, say the F word, C word, way more than American guys.
You think?
Easily.
Right.
Everyone's a C word, but in like a nice positive way.
Yeah, look that up.
Because you're our mates.
All right, who do you think is more status conscious?
American guys, definitely. I think you care a lot more about capitalism, but more in terms of like where you rank in like your company or your work. From the guys I've experienced, like whether it's dating military guys or just guys in the normal workplace who are American, I think definitely where you are socially seems to matter so much more. And if you have a 1-story house or a 2-story house, which like
I could talk about that forever.
Yeah, like in Australia, most houses are
house
1-stories. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Like it's like the general overall size that would indicate your like social status, I guess. But here it's like if you have a 2-story house, even if it's tiny, like you're loaded because you've got stairs. I think that's really weird.
Who do you think has the cuter accent?
Aww, Americans. I love your accent so much. And I think because Americans have so many different accents.
Ah, yeah, which one?
Yeah.
Because some of us sound like this.
Yeah, no, that's rough. That's definitely not one of the cuter ones. I think like the southern drawl accent is probably like one of my favorite accents. Like the Louisiana, New Orleans accent I really like.
Oh yeah, like Alabama, like deep south, yeah.
Yeah, maybe those, because it sounds so uniquely different and very old-fashioned. So I'd say like those. Australia only has 6 accents, and even then, out of all the guys I've dated, they've only been within 2 of those accents, the general and the cultivated one. So you guys have way cuter accents, easily.
More diversity, I think.
Yeah.
There's more diversity, and I think that the southern drawl is so beautiful, especially when they have a very wide vocabulary, because they just listening to the pronunciation of some of those words is amazing. Who do you think is more outgoing?
I'm gonna say Australian men are more outgoing. Just because, again, in general, I feel like Australians travel more almost, and like in my head that's sort of like, you travel more, you tend to be more outgoing. I think we also tend to be like a little bit more sportier, or like sport is our religion. Like religion is still quite big in America, like that's what people do on the weekend, but in Australia sports is what you do on the weekend. So I feel like because so many people grow up with that, we tend to be a bit more outgoing. So yeah, I'm gonna say Australian men for that one.
Okay. Who do you think is more relaxed and forthcoming about any problems or issues?
Oh, American men. Yeah. In general, from the ones I've dated, they've been more vocal about what's annoying them or what their issue is.
So is that whiny, or is it just more like something bugs them and they're just letting you know?
I think it's, yeah, if something bugs them, like if something bugs you, you let me know straight away. But like, aside from just you though, yeah, I think like American men in general are very vocal about anything that annoys them or frustrates them. But I think in general Americans are very vocal about everything, whereas a lot of other countries are a little bit more reserved. Yeah, I feel like Aussie guys definitely tend to keep their feelings a bit more bottled up, things like that. Again, not every Australian guy, but from the ones that I know and dated, yeah, I would say it takes a bit longer for them to say what's on their mind versus American men.
Interesting. Who do you think is more friendly?
American men, definitely. Yeah. Actually, that's kind of hard, because with that outgoing question, like say we were in a nightclub, American men are then more outgoing and a lot more friendly in that perspective, I would say. Like, you're definitely, anytime I've gone to, like, especially in Japan, like all the American guys would always be the first ones to like come up to me and my friends, or like when I was there with tour groups, it was always the American guys who were like more willing to put themselves out there.
Hey.
So yeah, so like 1.5 points I guess for that one, yeah.
Oh jeez. Who tends to be bitchier?
American men? I guess if you're more forthcoming with your feelings, if there's a bitchy feeling there, then I guess maybe. But yeah, so I guess
we bitch more.
Yeah, more willing to just say what's on your mind and what's annoying you or frustrating you. So, or like if you've had a really bad day at work and you just want to bitch about it, then
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do that. She's talking about me. It's okay. Who talks about their exes more?
American men, easily, hands down. I find it so strange and affronting when not just you, but like other American guys that I like went on some dates with, that they would bring up their exes or talk about them. And like, yeah, to me, I was just like, that's like something maybe like, 3 to 6 months later, I might casually mention some of my past relationships, but I would never talk about it as openly as you have, or like others.
I'm gonna say that there's some crazy women in America, and we just gotta make sure that you don't fit the criteria. So I gotta let you know that I've dealt with crazy, and we're not going back.
Yeah.
All right. I don't have glasses. Who do you think is more liberal/conservative?
I would say Australian men are more liberal, American men are more conservative. Obviously, like, that's a massive spectrum, but I would then say broadly, in general, Australia is much more liberal and America is much more conservative. Australia has a smaller population, so it's easier for us to be more liberal and be more progressive. Sometimes. It still took us ages to get gay rights. Yeah, in general, America is definitely a little bit further behind in terms of socialist ideas, like universal healthcare and like universal education and things like that. So I would say in general, American men are more conservative and Australian men are more liberal.
Who do you think is more committed?
Oh, American men. Yeah.
Okay, so what do you think? What comes to mind when I say more committed?
Like someone who wants to start dating, not just like go on dates, but like wants to be official, like official boyfriend and girlfriend faster, would be American guys, definitely. Like I feel like in Australia, it's very typical for a couple in Australia to like be just dating and seeing each other for like quite a few months before eventually it's like, oh yeah, I guess we're like officially boyfriend and girlfriend. Like that could take up to a year sometimes, like a whole year. And then it'll take like another 6 years until marriage. That is really typical. Like so many of my friends have been with their partners for 5-6 years before they got married. Whereas over here, it's like 1 to 2 years and you're married.
6 months, call it even.
Yeah, like especially with the military, it's much faster as well. Like even though our relationship was 3 years before we got married, that's still like a little bit fast by Australian standards. So yeah, so in my head then, like committed is like wanting to be in a relationship, calling each other the different terms, getting married, American men are much faster timeline than Australian men.
She wanted to be in a relationship first.
Yeah, of course I did. I said Australian men, not Australian women. We are more than happy to be committed. It's the Australian men that I feel, in my experience, that it takes, not even the guys I dated, but just even my male friends, it took them way longer to be like, oh yeah, I guess she's my girlfriend. You have been with this chick for like 8 months. Yes or no, is she your girlfriend? Yeah. American men, way more committed, definitely.
Who do you think is more emotionally cool?
Oh.
I also don't know what that means.
I guess like isn't as like hot-headed. That's a really tough one, emotionally cool. Based off my mates, as well as people in relationships, I would say Aussie guys are more emotionally cool.
Yeah.
Which again, I think goes with the not expressing as many feelings as soon as they happen. Americans are a lot more loud, more vibrant, whereas Aussie guys are a lot more chilled, laid back. So I guess, they would be more emotionally cool.
Who do you think is more inclined to organize dates?
Oh, American men, yeah. Again, I feel like that's way more the culture over here is like specifically like going on movie dates, going on dinner dates, asking someone on a date is very much more of the culture here than Australia. It's like, hey, let's hang out at this place maybe. Hey, let's go get some food somewhere. It's I would say hands down.
Afterthought text messages.
Yeah.
Like, hey, me and the friends are out at this place. You want to come?
Yeah. Like, obviously that happens in both countries, but I feel like, in general, from my experience, like, American guys have always organized dates way better than Australian guys. Again, I think it's the expectations that were very different.
Okay, so who do you think is louder or more brash?
Yeah, Americans. That's easy.
Oh.
Ding, 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 ding.
Takes no effort. Alright, who do you think has better fashion sense?
Ooh.
Oh, that's easy.
No, that's really hard because I
Wow.
love Australian fashion. I think we dress way more colorfully. We have way more options in the types of clothing that we wear. Like even when I was a tour guide, like you could spot American guys a mile away because they all wore the same stuff and it was in my head very bland. Whereas Aussie guys are so much more colorful.
How is this hard?
Well, because then I do love your fashion sense though. I think you're really fashionable.
But I don't dress like everyone else. I like wearing colors, man.
Yeah.
So you'll find me in
The inner
pastels. You'll find me in neon
Vibrant.
colors.
Yeah.
I have pink pants. I have pink shirts. I have orange pants. I have vibrantly bright blue pants. I have floral shirts. I have all kinds of stuff. Yeah, but that's not normal. Like people at work comment on it. They're like, "Oh my god, you're like the rainbow." I was like,
yeah, you'd fit into Australia straight away. So in my head, I would say Australian guys are way more fashionable than Americans.
okay, so who do you think has better humor?
Aussie men have better humor, better banter, better humor. I think I prefer the Australian humor. Like it's a lot more dry and not quite as coarse or in your face. Yeah, I miss the banter.
I'm funny.
You are
Anyway.
funny sometimes, but the banter is very different. Really, really different. So yeah, I would say Aussie guys are more funny.
Who do you think is more politically correct?
American men, definitely.
What?
Yeah, Aussies are not, like it's getting there, but I feel like because we're on an island, we're in a little bit more of a bubble. So in terms of like people using politically correct terms, we are like 10 years behind America in terms of that. Like social media is making that a little bit different, I think, and it's making Australia catch up a lot faster. But I would say, in general, American men are way more politically correct with their terminology than Australian men.
Interesting. Who do you think lives a healthier lifestyle?
Australian men. You guys have cornstarch here. Cornstarch? I've had too many beers. You guys have corn syrup here that's in like everything and like desserts for breakfast. I would say easily Australian men are healthier. We tend in general to be a more sportier country, I think. So yeah, Aussie men, they all like to do sports usually. They eat better. I think, just definitely way healthier in general.
Yeah, her 30-year-old friends like outpace me by a lot. Running, swimming, just general endurance, which is crazy because they're all like older than me by like 5 years. It's crazy. Who do you think cooks better?
You cook the best. But in general, maybe neither of you get either at this point. You're the best cook, but then a solid tie between American men that I know and dated and Australian guys that I've known and dated as well. Honestly, I've ended up cooking most of the time if I've cooked for someone on a date. I find food in America can be quite bland unless it's really... I don't think I've even had any American guys cooking except for yours. Yours and your family's from Christmas. That's it. So I would say a solid tie on both fronts.
So I'm very far away from where I grew up, in the heart of Kansas City, Missouri. Best barbecue on the planet, by the way. Lots of people from like my family who look like me, who cook a lot. I'm not away from those kinds of people. And it's bad. Cooking's not great.
Yeah, it's definitely, flavor's very different in America versus Australia.
It's okay though, because some of my friends, they cooked and it's been okay. It's been very good. Yeah, if I had to go back home, man, like they'd be blowing out the water. I'm sorry. For any of my friends who have seen this, I love you guys. I like free food, so don't stop cooking, but sorry. Who do you think is more educated? Ooh.
I guess it depends on what. Like, if there's anything I noticed from being a tour guide, it's very much that each country learns their country's idea of history specific to them. So like, if you were to ask anyone in Australia, what are 5 or more states in America? A lot of them might not be able to answer that. But then the same thing, like if I was to ask you, what are all the states of Australia? I know you can't answer that. So like, there's like little things. There's like little things like that. But then in terms of like, I would say more knowledgeable or who had a better education system, I think Australia has a much better education system than America. But in terms of like men though, Aussie men versus American men, I feel like I want to say from my group of friends who are guys in Australia, I feel like they're a lot more educated than American men are.
Okay. Who do you think is better at sports?
Aussie guys. Yep, hands down, much better at sports. We do more sports, play more sports. So I feel like the Aussie guys have a larger range of sports that they can do and perform.
All right. Who do you think is more low maintenance?
Australian men. I would say they're more laid back, more relaxed, low maintenance. I don't have to worry about their feelings as much. Yeah.
Okay. Who do you think is more adventurous?
Yeah, Australian men. I would say on average, more Australian men would have passports than American men.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would say Aussie guys are more willing to be adventurous and outgoing, yeah.
Who do you think is more considerate and kind?
American men.
Wow,
Definitely.
really?
Yeah, that was an easy one. I think in general, like, yeah, American guys who I've dated have always, like, I don't know, treated me more like they wanted to know how I was feeling in the day, or, I don't know, just cared more about my feelings. Yeah.
We're the feelings guys.
Yeah.
Who do you think is more terrified of bugs?
Oh, you. Easily. American men. There we
What?
go. A quick generalization.
Hold on, you just said me. You
Yeah.
single me out.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
No touchy.
I've never heard someone scream so much the first time we went to Australia and you came to my farm and there was just... So I think that's the thing, Australian guys are more used to bugs as well, whereas, yeah, I just imagine now, like, any American guy coming to Australia having that same reaction. Actually, yeah, even Dustin did when he was like, oh, there's a lot of bugs. Like, yeah, Aussie guys, less terrified of bugs. I have to kill every insect in our house.
Wow, expose me. Ooh, who do you think is more of a coffee snob?
Australian men. Aussie guys are very coffee snobbish. I think it's part of like our immigrant culture. So we had a lot of people coming over from Italy who created like a very big like espresso kind of culture within Australia, and it kind of took off to the point where like we got angry at McDonald's because of the coffee they were serving was rubbish. And so they had to change it. So I would say Aussie guys are way bigger coffee snobs than American guys.
Nice, okay. Who do you think's more mature?
American guys. Again, I think that's because I feel they want to be more committed, so they seem like they want to be older, they want to have families or kids or get better jobs or things like that. I don't know, I feel like they're a lot more driven and a lot more mature.
Okay. And final question, who do you think is more family oriented?
It's very close, but I would say American guys are more family orientated. Again, it comes down to that they want to be committed and get married sooner, so they want to have kids, but also just in terms of like being around their family more often. Obviously Aussie guys as well love being around their family and things like that, but I'd say it comes down to that idea of creating a new family. American men are more family orientated towards that, I feel. Anyway, thanks for watching guys. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to give a big thumbs up. It really means a lot towards the YouTube algorithm and myself. And also don't forget to hit that subscribe button down below. And I will see you in another video. Mwah!
Ta-ta. New South Wales, North Queensland.
No, North Queensland's an area.
Northern Territory.
Yeah, very good. Can you name
Southern
any more?
Territory.
Oh, so close. No.
Western, Eastern.
Western what?
Queensland.
Very good, that's where I'm from.
Victoria.
The little island at the bottom of Australia.
Tasmania.
Yep, very good.